It's live now.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, members. As clerk to the Joint Committee, if I can just do a quick roll call of members to confirm who's present at this meeting, starting off with the chairman, Councillor June Cully.
Yes, here. Thank you, John.
Right, and Fareham Borough Council, Councillor Michael Ford.
Yes, thanks, John.
Havant, Councillor Leah Turner.
Present.
And Portsmouth City Council, Councillor Dave Ashmore.
Present.
And any other members who I haven't called?
No.
No, that's I've got apologies from one or two. Officer Wise, Kate Busby, Deputy Treasurer. Present. Ian Cousin, Deputy Manager.
Yes, John here.
Helen Jenkins, Deputy Manager of the Crematorium.
Present, John.
And Dave Stribling, Horticultural side.
Present, John. Yeah.
Thank you. And Stephen Kerr, Deputy Clerk.
Yes, here, John.
Good. Welcome. Just to say, I've had apologies from Councillor Lee Hunt, also Ashley Humphrey, Victoria Hatton, the manager, Kathleen Jones, who's on other council business, I believe. She's been called to an urgent meeting. And also Andy Winnell, also away. And welcome Councillor Michael Wilson, who's just joined us from Havant Borough Council.
Okay.
So, Chairman, this is
Thank you.
meetings taking place, a virtual remote meeting in accordance with the regulations which the government issued to allow local authorities to hold meetings remotely using video or telephone conferencing technology. And on that note, I'll hand over to you, Chairman, Councillor June Cully, to take us through the meeting, please.
Thank you very much, John. We also had apologies from Councillor Martin from Fareham, just to put that one on the record. And can I firstly welcome any members of the public who are joining us today. I hope you will find this interesting and informative. And we have a new councillor joining us today from Fareham to replace the sadly missed Councillor Keith Evans. We now have Councillor Michael Ford. So welcome to this committee, Councillor Ford. I hope you will find it of interest, and I'm sure we'll gain from your presence here with us. Members, could I ask, has anybody got any interest to declare before we proceed?
Not heard any, so I think we can move on.
We can, thank you, Chair. Well, next item is the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of December 2020. So we've got pages 5 to 8. If I take them page by page, members. So page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4. Thank you, members. I will ask if I can now agree that we will sign those as a true record of that meeting. Obviously, that will be a virtual signature.
By acclamation, that's agreed, Chairman.
Thank you very much, members. Now, matters arising that weren't specifically referred to on the agenda. Have we any other matters arising, John?
The only matter that I think I'd mention would be minute 879, which relates to the recycling scheme. Just 2 points on that. Firstly, to say that the Rowans Hospice, who had been nominated previously, have written to thank the Joint Committee for the contribution that has been made from the scheme. And secondly, that we've been invited again by the ICCM to seek nominations for the next round. We had that letter come in a few days ago. So what I've been proposing to do is to circulate an email to members as in accordance with the practice that we've followed over the recent past, and invite members to nominate a charitable institution in accordance with the arrangement that the ICCM lay down, and then proceed from there. I think that's probably the easiest way of doing it.
I think that's a very sound suggestion, and it's served us well in the past. So, members, if you're in agreement, John will email, and we note the grateful thanks of the Rowans for the last donation. Okay, we're now on to Clark's items, John.
Yes, on Clark's items, I want to, I think, just mention one thing. I've had a letter of representation from a member of the public concerning the enforcement of the regulations on grounds clearance. I don't propose that we get into a discussion about it at the moment, because I think it's more relevant just to mention it and for members to then consider it under the development plan item, which is item 9. Item 9 on the agenda. And I'll tell you more about what that letter says and the views expressed in it for members to consider at that point. I think I'd just to say at this stage.
That sounds fine, John. Thank you. We'll take that with item 9. Right, members, we now have the report from the Building Works and Renewals Programmes, and I refer to Mr. Cousins, please, and that's on pages 9 to 12.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I'll give you a run through on the repairs and renewals programme. Just really as a sort of rider to this, works have slowed during the last couple of months as the crematorium's been very busy, and we didn't want to introduce too many contractors to site during the difficult, busy times. But the good news is the bookroom has now been completed, and what I've done in the report, because I know not everyone's been able to get to the crematorium during this period, I've included a couple of photographs in the report so you can see how that area has now been lifted. It's created a lot better atmosphere, not just inside but also outside, where we have new arrangements for flowers to be stored away from the bookroom, which we hope members of the public will appreciate. Moving through on to other items, we've got some projects that we're starting very shortly, such as the groundsman's store and works in South Chapel, and we've also got details about works that will be carried out as we go into the new financial year, including changes within the office, waiting room refurbishment and some signage work. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, I could, Ian, could you give us some indication what the waiting room refurbishments are in sort of planning stage?
Okay, thank you, Councillor. On that one, what we've noted is the works to improve the South and North Chapel have really created a much better image, which has been noted by customers, and particularly in relation to the North Chapel. What we've looked at is your first impressions as you come into the waiting room don't really match that expectation. So we think it's timely to look at those areas. And in conjunction with the team, we're going to look at we'll look at them as a whole, look at the seating arrangements, because one of the things we looked at in the chapel is different types of seating. At the moment, we've got purely fixed. Is that the right solution? Is it tables, layout? There's also a bit about the information we provide in that area. We think there's an opportunity to inform people a bit more about the crematorium, not just in facilities, but also from the environment, the grounds and all the good work that the team do there, to sort of highlight some of the features that we see, and also some of the good news, such as the successes in the Britain in Bloom competition. We see it as an opportunity to also allow the materials and the designs that we've used in both the chapels to actually spread, to get that commonality between the areas. So it's very much sort of, our ideas. We'll welcome any comments you want to make, and as we go through the design process, we can bring those into consideration.
Thank you. We'll take this item first. And members, has anybody indicated that they would like to comment on these?
No one's indicated to me.
No one's indicated. Okay. Ian, if I may say, I've always found the seating seemed to have worked quite well when I've attended. It allows room for people to manoeuvre. You can have groups standing, you can have people sitting in isolated or in a group setting. So I'd be interested in what comments we've had back on the seating arrangements, and perhaps the manager may be able to give us a reflection on that. Yes, I think the information board would be very useful, and I don't know if that would be an electronic style information, rotating around, or if this is a static one that you had in mind, and certainly highlighting, the achievements like the written in bloom, they are worth celebrating, definitely. So could you just come back on that, please?
I think in terms of information board, that's a really good idea. Whether it was rolling or fixed, that's something we'd look at during the process. I think with all of this, we haven't really designed this out yet. That's what our next stage is. So we'll take on board your comments and we'll add those in, and we'll bring something back to you in a future meeting when we can give you a bit more detail about what our proposals are.
Okay, so if we can gain some feedback from maybe people using the seating before we change it. Okay. Did you envisage any sort of painting or decorating?
Yes, as part of it, the flooring and the finishes would all be picked up. I think it's the basic, the understanding of how it works, and then it would be refreshed and relit, re-imaged, so it provides the image we want to present. Obviously, with the waiting rooms being out of use during the coronavirus restrictions, it will be good timing to bring those back in as and when those areas can reopen, hopefully in the not too distant future.
Thank you. And then could you give us any update on the water feature feasibility?
The water feature feasibility, we've been working with the team on site, and we've got some initial ideas and thoughts about how we see that area going forward. But at this stage, they're not in a format that really I can bring back to you. But we're hopeful that in a not too distant meeting, we'll have that in a way that we can give you some information about how we see that feature being provided in the future.
Okay, thank you. And if we just have a quick check before we move off. Is anybody else wanting to ask John any questions or any comments? Sorry, Ian, any comments?
Yeah. I don't see anybody asking.
Yeah.
Jim, let me switch their microphone on to make a comment. I think perhaps I could just comment generally on the timescale that Ian's mentioned in his report, and that is. If there's a need to bring this back to members, the next meeting won't be until in June, and it may be that the timescale, you might be able to have something not available to perhaps circulate to members for information in advance of that, so that if there are any further points that needed to be picked up, that could be done before the June meeting. Just a thought in terms of the timescale, try and be helpful.
I think that's a valid point, John, because, as you say, April's usually the start of the new financial year, and we sometimes have deadlines to meet when we need to get these works underway. Ian, so if that can be done through John to make sure all members are advised of any dates that you can provide to us?
Yes, Councillor, as soon as we've got that information, then we'll circulate that to yourself and the other members. Thank
you very much. And just to comment on the photographs, I think the book room looks stunning, and I think that's really tidied up where plants can be left and flower contributions, hasn't it? That's really enhanced it without having the dripping flowers in the book room anymore. So that certainly looks very, very, very good. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Moving back, members. So we're now going to the manager and registrar report.
Sorry, Chairman. I think just on that, the reports for noting. So I think you take it that the report is noted.
Thank you.
That's fine. Move on to the manager's report now, then, Chairman.
Okay. If I could just advise members, you can use the chat facility if you want to, or your hands up. Either will get John's attention or my attention.
I think hands up would be better. I think, Chairman.
Hands up's better for you, is it? Okay.
Better for me because I'm trying to write, look, and hear all at the same time.
And who said men couldn't multitask? Right.
Right. There you go.
Right, we're going to go to the manager and registrar's report, and we're very pleased that Jenkins to assist us today?
Well, I haven't got anything further to report on the statistics, other than we've added the Obitus multimedia service, just to give you an idea what the uptake of the service has been during this pandemic. The only thing we haven't included in there is keepsakes, because they're ordered, can be sometime after the service. It wouldn't give a realistic figure to what the uptake is on keepsakes. So the company, Obitus, are giving us a report on a monthly basis, so we can have an idea of how many services are uptaking on webcasts and visual tributes. So I thought we would add it, as John suggested to me, to add it at the bottom of the report, so you can have a figure for the last 2 months included on that report. Victoria hasn't left any other comments to bring up at the meeting. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Members, any comment?
Any questions?
Okay. Helen, just to say that the statistics multimedia are extremely good and encouraging. And I understand they've exceeded the predicted take up. So I think that really does show that this is a very good service that we're getting, and people are benefiting from it, especially in these restricted times. It couldn't have come at a better time for people. Sorry, Helen's muted.
Yeah. Mute.
I'm just talking to myself. It's the fact that the staff actually took to it very well. Nobody could have predicted what was going to come ahead of us, and it couldn't have come at a better time. The staff say it's as if they've used it for years, so they took to it really well as well. And the knock-on effect is we wouldn't be able to have accepted USB sticks from families or DVDs. That would have been, because the office is closed. So having this all provided to the public online, it's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. That's very, very encouraging. Right, members, now go to.
I'm recording you. You've noted that report, then, members.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, John.
Grounds maintenance.
We have, so we're going to go to Dave Stribling for our grounds maintenance report, which is item 8, pages 15 to 16. Members.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dave. Welcome.
Quite a short report because it's winter month, quite a quiet period. Just to catch up on what's been going on, really. It all seems up together. I was there myself Mother's Day. I thought how nice the gardens looked.
Lovely.
That's a personal view. Is there any questions about that?
Did you when you were there Mother's Day, did you see some more pot plants coming in?
A couple, not many.
Oh.
Not many.
Okay.
Very short supply. The pots to the greenhouse conservatory, very, very short.
Okay. I'll encourage family and friends that it would be very nice if they want to do a tribute to do it in that fashion. Do we have any members' comments or questions to David, please? No. Okay. Just quickly then, I see you're looking forward to seeing the summer bedding coming in on the 19th of May. Yep. So weather permitting, all in situ, roughly by when? How quickly does that?
A week at most.
A week.
Schedule. Hopefully we no delays. We occasionally get delays from the supplier, but very rarely. Hopefully, she'll all be in within a week.
Okay,
Or a couple of days, hopefully.
lovely. I note that we were saying about where the ashes are interred in the shrubbery, and you're getting the acidic level up with the pine mulch. Is it, are we needing to improve the mulch with anything additional to that to help?
I think let's do some further soil testing now to find out where we are with that. Monitor soil levels, pH, and acidity level.
So maybe do a couple of soil sample
I
tests?
think that's what I have to do, yeah.
Thank you. Obviously, we don't want to lose the shrubs we've got.
They all look quite healthy at the moment, so we'll keep a watch on that.
Lovely. And my understanding is we've still got adequate space at this time for doing the ashes where we're doing them.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to the team for stunning work that they're doing, and we look forward to seeing some extra colour as the new spring and summer bedding comes into bird flower. Thank you very much, David, and please pass on our thanks to the contractor.
Right,
Members, nobody else on that one? Okay, so we'll now go to the development management plan. Oh, sorry, I've got to do recommend and noted on item 8. Is that okay for you, John?
That's fine, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Going on to item 9, the development management plan, and that is pages 17 to 42. And it's for the year 21 to 2026. And I believe, John, you're going to take us through this one.
Yes, Chairman. I won't dwell on every element of the report. Members will be familiar with the format of this particular document. It's as the report itself says, it's reviewed every 2 years by the Joint Committee. So a lot of what appears in this document has already appeared in the previous development plan document, which was agreed back in 2019. And I think what I'd like to do is to just say that there have been a number of minor and modest textual changes to reflect the situation that has occurred over the last 2 years, and also obviously to introduce into it new elements going forward. So the first taking us actually through the body of the report, starting I think probably on page 19 or 20. Yes, page 20, where the actual text commences. Much of that, as I've said, is similar to what you've seen before, and it simply reflects the position that now exists at the crematorium. We've taken the opportunity to include within the development plan document, for example, in para 4.5, reference to the Competition and Markets Authority, and members will know they've had a couple of reports over the last 18 months or so on the CMA investigation into the funeral industry, etc. The first probable point I want to just pause on is paragraph 6.2 of the report, dealing with the turnover of staff, which mentions, of course, that James Clark had retired and that we have a new manager and registrar in post. And again, it refers to staffing arrangements, and that we would obviously, officers will be keeping staffing arrangements under review generally. And during the pandemic period, obviously, that has had an effect on the way that staff have had to work, and have been obviously supplemented to a modest extent. Para 6.7 deals with the pandemic emergency plan that was activated, and also makes clear that the crematorium will be keeping under review whatever actions are necessary to ensure that the staff can continue to be ready to meet whatever is effectively thrown at the crematorium, if I can put it that way, at any future emergency. Para 7, section 7, it's dealing with the technology changes that have occurred, and you've already heard from Helen just now talking about Obitus, and that's covered not only in section 7 but also in section 8 of the report, which really leads us through into section 9, which is the one dealing with memorials. And I know members gave the whole question of memorials and things that were being left within the grounds.
Yes. Yes, that'd be okay.
Hello.
Same time for 3:40.
I think we've got.
I've got someone at the door.
I think that sounded like Stephen Kerr, members. And I think Stephen ought to have just. Hello, Stephen.
Sorry, John.
Yes, I think you need to mute your microphone, Stephen.
Oh, right. I didn't know that it was unmuted. Sorry.
Oh, well, apologies. I was just starting to say, members, that in relation to para 9 of the report dealing with memorials, which I'd like to come back to and dwell on in a little more detail when we come back through the report, if members want to focus on particular sections, and this is one I would wish to deal with, that you'd had a report in some detail in December of 2019, when the current policy was clearly agreed of 3 monthly clearances, and that action should be taken as and when to make sure the grounds are being kept neat and tidy, and anything with health and safety type issues and things of that sort are being removed. I know that the manager is anxious to ensure that anything which presents a health and safety risk or something which is like that is removed, such as glass and things of that order are removed. Anyhow, we'll come back to that if we may. That deals with that section. Very much of what follows in other parts of the report are, apart from changes to wording, are very much in line with reports that you've had previously. Obviously, the statistical information, which is covered in cremation trends in paragraphs in sections 13 and 14, have been updated to reflect current position. I think that's probably all I want to say at this stage. Enough from me, but if members want to go through it, having highlighted some of these particular sections that have been changes, that may be, I think, probably the best way to do it, Chairman.
Thank you very much, John. Members, do we want to deal with item 9 first and then take any others? Anybody got any other comments they want to raise? You can unmute yourself if you're not finding the hands up working for you.
Perhaps that means everybody's happy to go with examination of section 9 and the issue of the grounds.
Yeah. Okay. In my discussions with John prior to the meeting, we've said about intensifying the daily sweep that is undertaken by the staff. Now, this is our admin staff and our crematorium staff as opposed to ground staff, although I'm sure the grounds team do clear as they work as well. So it's how far we can expect additional work to be supported if, we want to see this tasked more frequently. Obviously, over the weekends, there's not going to be so many people on site from a staffing perspective, so perhaps that's when things are seen more often. We did make it very clear that we wanted to reduce the plastics on the site, and obviously when we see items of glass, then that is a risk and they do have to be removed. Has anybody got any other thoughts on this?
Chairman, can I just add to what you were going to say? Because I think what I'd like to do is to just formally report the detail or the summarise rather, because the correspondence I mentioned at the start of the meeting, the letter of representation that I'd received basically was from a gentleman who said that he'd spoken with other visitors to the crematorium grounds, and he was concerned that the current no memorials policy wasn't being vigorously enforced. He was upset, as were others, and we've had other letters in the past from members of the public who have said, look, there are things being left in the grounds in contravention of the rules which say no memorials, plaques, plastic flowers and all those sorts of things should be left there. Whilst these things are cleared on a 3-monthly basis, he was saying, well, what's happening, of course, is they're being removed, and then people who they belong to almost promptly put them back again a short time later. What is the crematorium going to do about it? Well, I've said to him, there are two sides to this, of course. He quite rightly points out that the crematorium has a regulation which says no memorials and all these various other items, and on the other hand, you've got members of the public who are, in a sense, defying that and leaving stuff in the grounds, and they know full well, most of us should know, from the forms which are filled in at the time when seeking a cremation, that what the crematorium's policy is, which is no memorials and those sorts of other items and plaques, etc., should be left. So you've got two sides, and whatever you do, and I think looking towards the crematorium staff on site, they have a difficult job with some visitors who become very upset or distraught, whether they are in the camp of I've left something as a memorial, or why has it been removed, or why can't I do it? You know, so they're in a sort of catch-22 difficult situation. So I just wanted to put both sides of the coin to members, and I think one of the things is making the public aware, as you quite rightly pointed out, Chairman, making the public aware of the rules in a very simplified fashion. The regulations are clear and they're well spelled out, and I think that's all I say. But perhaps other members, having I explained the background to it, members may themselves like to just comment through you.
May I comment, Chairman, please?
Yes, please do, Leah. Councillor Turner.
Thank you. Our policy is absolutely right. I've said this before. People are aware of the policy before they use the crematorium. I think how we uphold, other than what we're doing now, becomes more difficult. But I certainly think the crematorium looks that much better for the fact that we have this policy. We shouldn't be more lenient. And obviously it would take much more officer time if we were more strict. So I think we've probably got it about right.
Thank you very much, Councillor Turner. Is there,
any other members? Yes, I think Councillor
Ford. Yes, Councillor Ford.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Leah. I think one person's memorial is offensive to another person. You know, people choose all sorts of things for memorials. I look after the Friends of St Mary's Churchyard here where I live, and we had a similar situation there, and you get something that somebody found quite inoffensive, that this was his friend who died. He used to go out for a drink with him, so every Friday night he went and left a glass and a beer bottle on his on his gravestone. Now, to him, that was perfectly reasonable. For many other people, it's quite offensive that it should be there. So where is the line here? So it really seems to be a black and white one. We know with plastic flowers, they very quickly become scruffy. And even after 3 months, I would suggest that plastic flowers become scruffy. So it seems to me the awareness would appear to be there. I was reading in previous minutes that funeral directors are now being asked to inform those who are arranging funerals of the rules, and it seems to me that it does need enforcing, because again, everybody will take a bit. If they see someone else do it, they will do it, and then someone else will do it, and 2 months becomes 3 months, becomes 4 months. A very difficult one. I can't think of a more sensitive area, but I do feel that we're right on this, and we do need to be firm on it. The beautiful gardens, and they quickly get, I don't know, something's taken away from them by what some people may view as sympathetic memorials left, but other people don't. And I could we had the same in the local churchyard, that there was somebody who looked after his memorial, and then either side of them there were, quite scruffy things had been left, and it was quite offensive to those people. So I don't think there's a halfway house here. We should apply the rule. Anyway, sorry, I've rattled on a bit there.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ford. Any other members? Comments?
I think to summarise on that, Chairman, that's helpful. Those comments, and other members are obviously, in that sense, agreeing with that particular view. That the current, I think, what I would suggest, picking up on what you've said, is something that along the lines that the current wording of the regulation, it's called Regulation 10. Actually, it's quite extensive, but we redefine it in public notices to provide greater clarity and simplification of the requirements of that regulation. And I think in that sense, that should help and make available some, not only on signboards, but perhaps also a written documentation, which a leaflet of some sort that can be set out. And I think also picking up on the fact that there is authority for the manager to take action at her discretion to remove any items that aren't permitted in a sense between the 3 monthly sweep. Because if you do a 3 monthly sweep and somebody then comes out and clears things within a short while of time afterwards, this little bird bath or whatever it might be that's sits there for the next 2 months, and it almost encourages other people to think, well, we can do the same. So there are certain objects that I think need to be removed. That's what I think members are saying, to ensure that the attractiveness of the gardens is maintained, and it doesn't in fact encourage others to think they can do similar.
Thank you, John.
If members are agreeable, I think I could write that into the minutes so that we're clear where we're going.
I think
members are nodding. I can see members nodding.
Absolutely. That would be helpful, because the clearer we make that regulation, the better.
Yeah.
Did I see?
Can I just make one?
Yes, certainly.
That is also important at the end of that is that it's depriving other families of placing flowers, which is quite important, because if you have somebody who's taken over a large area and created these shrines, we get equally people complaining that they cannot place flowers of their own on a spot, because it's a communal garden. Everybody should have a right to be able to place flowers. Somebody placing something of a permanent nature there obviously deprives these families of placing their own flowers.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Thank you, Helen. Okay.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think, Dave, have you got your hand up, Dave?
Yes.
We have issue with plants being planted as well as memorials being put in the ground. We have issues with plants being planted by people. I think they're doing a good thing, planting these plants and shrubs and roses all over the place. This is an issue, really. They can't be able to stay there, we have to take them out, and that does cause consternation. Helen's nodding her head.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. John, I think what we need to do then is make that clear in the regulations, as it states as well, that you have to ask permission to put some some bulbs. I think that's something that we can ask permission, but then the area would have to be designated, wouldn't it? As opposed to just putting them anywhere. Perhaps that's something we can consider, an area that we allow people, like we have with the flower donations, the floral donations, where people want to put the plant right by where they put the ashes. Perhaps if we had an area that we could discuss.
I've lost it.
Can I just say, subject to what Dave's going to say, I think two things. Firstly, the regulations already make it clear that no one should plant any bulbs, seeds, shrubs, etc., unless authorised to do so. And the second thing is, if someone has their family ashes planted in, we'll call it plot 6, and the agreement is to say, well, if you want to plant some bulbs or whatever flower, you could, this is an area which we set aside, which isn't plot 6. They will still feel, I'm quite sure, that there is a difficulty that arises. They will still want to go back and stick something in plot 6. Sorry, having said that, I haven't stolen your thunder, Dave.
Very same thing. Also, I was talking about this. Planted bulbs can get a bit over the top at times. Some bulbs in plot 6, and 6A's got bulbs, and 6B's got bulbs. And where you are, you've got bulbs everywhere.
Right.
A sea of bulbs, and they will spread out when they grow. Daffodils, crocus will self-germinate, and they'll get bigger and bigger. The patches get swamped.
Yeah.
Be careful.
I've got Helen and I've got Kate both wanting to speak, Chairman.
Daffodils.
Okay, should we take Kate first, and then we'll come back to Helen? Kate.
Thank you, Chairman. I just really wanted to say as well, with the introduction of the vases for the flowers and the racking, we're almost trying to encourage a change in behaviour. We can already see that racking is being used, so hopefully that will encourage some change in behaviour. And with the suggestion about bulbs, I think as part of the review of the memorial space, different ideas of what people could do potentially will come forward at that time, rather than doing something now that we later think actually we could have done something different, slightly better in a different way, or combine it with something. That will definitely form part of that review going forward, I think. And in relation to the actual clearance, I appreciate that somebody may have come and said that it's not being done quite as quickly as they thought it might have been. But I would just say as well that we need to remember the pressure that the team there have been under over the last 3 months, such busy periods. And obviously I'm sure that is something that they'll look at in the future, just that prompter clearance if we deem that actually quarterly isn't going to be enough.
Thank you very much for that, Kate. And now to Helen, please.
Okay, we have stopped taking bulbs currently at the moment, obviously because we're not open to the public, and obviously we don't want the handling of bulbs. I think Victoria's sort of reviewing that at the moment. But the main thing is, historically, the gardens have been laid out to plan by shrubs. So we have got maps of shrubs of where they were going back to 1959. We have got a couple of maps in the garden. And where we're looking at historic locations where ashes have been scattered, we can actually refer to these maps. So keeping very similar shrubs in the areas as they were when the gardens were first laid out to plan. And obviously if there's a shrub that can't survive in that area anymore, but keeping them as near as they were when they were first planned out in the garden would make that life so much easier for us. We are trying to change the way that we do scatter by not naming the shrubs now, because we're finding that people are getting quite precious. So if a shrub dies off, then we will contact Dave, like we did the other day, to notify him if something's died in an area, and then we can actually talk to the families and say yes, we can put a shrub there likewise, but not change it, because obviously that throws everybody out. The historic scatterings we have where they chose to use shrub names and shrub numbers in the garden.
No,
But
thank you.
okay.
Thank you, Helen. Yes, it's important that you know where things are. When you're asked, you can direct people. And I think that comes back to our signage as well. And we do say that on our signage, we keep emphasising don't leave any plastic wrappings and balloons and all of the bits that seem to be accumulating, which do end up just looking like this. And you know, we're trying our very best to keep this as green as we possibly can. And I think that's our strong message that's coming through. Members, if you're happy with John, we'll come back to us with some wording on those regulations to simplify and make them as clear as possible. And that will obviously be shared with the funeral directors and all the team. And our thanks again, as Kate pointed out, the team have had a very busy period, and I think we need to reflect that. Okay. Does anybody else have any other item on the development plan that they'd like to raise? No. Okay, we'll go back. So
there are two recommendations actually.
Yes, I'm just going overly for them, John.
Fine. If members are happy with that, we put to the vote and then move on, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, I've moved my page from where I was. Bear with me a second. There we go. Right. So the Portchester Crematorium Joint Committee Development Management Plan be approved and adopted. And also item little 2, that the development plan be next reviewed in 2 years' time. Are we all in agreement with that, members?
Yes.
Yeah, everybody's nodding. I can see nods by acclamation, and nobody has objected, so we take that then as being approved and carried, Chairman.
Thank you.
Members.
Thank you very much for the work on that as well, John. Thank you for keeping us up to date with that item. Right, members, we're now down to the date of the next meeting, which is scheduled for Monday the 21st of June at 2 p.m. And at that time, you will circulate, John, that will go to the next authority for choice of chairman, won't you?
Yes, Chairman. The arrangement is that this would obviously, in a sense, be your last substantive meeting of the joint committee, and members there may be 1 or 2 changes come June, depending on what each local authority wishes to do. Yeah. It's always nice to see members and hope to welcome everybody back, as they say, in June. In the meanwhile, I can tell you, for members who enjoy reading the Resurgam magazine, and that the new spring issue came in a few days ago, and it has been sent to you at your council offices. So if any of you have an arrangement to pop in, you can pick it up. If not, I don't know, I'm sure you have arrangement for post to be sent on to you. Okay.
Right. Thank you, John, and can I thank all the officers and all the members for your attendance and also for the work over the last year. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, and goodbye. And if Anna is there, is Anna there?
I
listening?
am here, yes.
Hello, Anna. We've the meeting is now concluded.
Okay, I'll turn off the live stream. You'll still be audible for a couple of minutes, so I'll let you know when it's stopped recording.
All right, that's very kind of you. Thank you.